Hello, everyone. Again, this is Teacher JM, and welcome to English 3 fourth quarter week 1. So, let's learn new things today. Are you ready? That's great. So, our topic for week 1 fourth quarter is about degrees of adjectives. In this lesson, you are expected to use degrees of adjectives in making comparisons. That is our objective for today. Before we start, let's define the following words. The first word is all about adjectives. Adjectives are words that describe persons, places, things, animals, and events. They tell something about a noun. And if we say a noun, these are persons, places, things, animals, and events. Let's look at the first example. Let's read the sentence together, okay? The cake is sweet. The underlined word sweet is an adjective. It describes the noun cake. Here is another example. Can you read it with me? That's great. The ball is round. The underlined word round describes the ball, which is a noun. Now let's look at the next sentence. The big tree has been cut. The underlined word big is an adjective that describes the noun tree. Now it's your turn. Let's look at the picture and give the correct adjective from the given words. Are you ready? Awesome! Let's start. The first picture is a drum. Now let's choose the correct adjective that best describes the drum. Is it loud, sweet, or scary? What could be the correct answer? You're right! The correct answer is loud. The drum beats so loud. Now let's move on to the next picture. Are you ready? Great! The next picture is an apple. Now let's choose the correct adjective that best describes the apple. Is it white, happy, or tasty? What could be the correct answer? Very good. The correct answer that best describes the apple is tasty. Now let's move on to the last picture. Are you ready? Cool. The next picture is a boxer. Now let's choose the correct adjective that best describes the boxer. Is it colorful, strong, or pretty? What could be the correct answer? Awesome! The correct adjective that best describes the boxer is strong. The boxer is strong. Now that we already know the meaning of adjectives, let's move on to our next topic. Adjectives have 3 degrees of comparisons. These are the positive, comparative, and superlative degrees. Let's start with the positive degree. The positive degree signifies quality. It talks about only one thing and it is not being compared with another. Let's read the first example. The ice cream is cold. The underlined word cold refers to only one subject, which is the ice cream. For our next example, let's read the sentence together. Glenn is tall. The underlined word tall refers to only one subject, which is Glenn. As for our last example, can you read it with me? Great! My books are heavy. The underlined word heavy refers to only one subject, which are her books. Now let us move on to the next degree of comparison, which is the comparative degree. The comparative degree signifies quality in greater or less degree. Two things are being compared. Let us look at the example below. Can you read it with me? Red house is bigger than blue house. As you can see, two houses are being compared. The red and the blue house. So we are going to use the comparative degree of comparison. The last degree of comparison is called superlative degree. The superlative degree signifies quality in the greatest or least degree. Three or more items are being compared. Let us look at the example. Can you read it with me? Among the three houses, the third house is the biggest of them. As you can see, three houses are being compared. 1, 2, and 3. So we will be using the superlative degree in comparing them. Let's read and study the conversation, then answer the following questions. Are you ready? Awesome! Now let's start the conversation between Jenny and Billy. Jenny, look at this plant. It is big. Yes, Billy, it is big. Now look at this plant. It is bigger than your plant. Oh, I agree with you. Take a look at the plant in the rectangular pot. That plant is the biggest among the three. Now let's answer the following questions. Are you ready? Okay, great. Number 1. Who are talking in the conversation? Right, it's Jenny and Billy. Number 2. What are being compared in the conversation? Very good. The plants are being compared in the conversation between Jenny and Billy. Number 3. Which plant is big? Awesome. It is the plant that Billy is holding. Number 4. What did Jenny say about the plant in the round pot? That's great. Jenny said that it is bigger than what Billy is holding. And the last question, how did Jenny describe the plant in the rectangular pot? You're awesome! The plant in the rectangular pot is the biggest among the plants that they had. Now let's answer this learning task. Are you ready? That's great! Let's read the directions first. Can you read it with me? Write the comparative and superlative degree of each adjective below. Write your answers in your notebook. Alright, so let's start with the word big. What is the comparative degree of big? Bigger, correct. And the superlative? Biggest, awesome. Big, bigger, biggest. Now let's move on to number 2. Sweet. What is the comparative degree of sweet? Correct, sweeter. And the superlative? Awesome, it's sweetest. Sweet, sweeter, sweetest. And for the last one, we have the word thick. What is the comparative degree of thick? Very good. Thicker. And the superlative degree? Great. Thickest. Thick, thicker, thickest. But how are we going to form the comparisons of adjective? Do you have any idea? That's okay. Let's look at their given rules. Now let's look at the first rule. Under the positive degree, when one-syllable adjectives, for example, weak, what will happen to the comparative degree? We add er to the positive degree. For example, from our positive degree, weak, it becomes weaker. And for the superlative degree, we are going to add est to the positive degree. So from our given example weak, it becomes weakest. Weak, weaker, weakest. Another example is the word near. It becomes nearer for the comparative degree and nearest for the superlative degree. For our next rule, to the adjectives ending in y, for example, dirty, for the comparative degree, we're going to change y to I and add er to the positive degree. From the word dirty, it becomes dirtier. As for the superlative degree, we're going to change y to I and add est to the positive degree. So from our word dirty, it becomes dirtiest. So dirty, dirtier, dirtiest. We also have another example, pretty. It becomes prettier in the comparative degree and prettiest in the superlative degree. Are you following me? Very good. Now let's move on to the next rule. For adjectives ending in E, say for example we have the word safe as the positive degree. When we move on to the comparative degree, we're going to drop E and add ER to the positive degree. So from our word safe, it becomes safer. As for the superlative degree, we're going to drop E and add est to the positive degree. So from our word safe, it becomes safest. So we have safe, safer in the comparative degree, and safest for the superlative degree. We have another example. Large. It becomes larger under the comparative degree and largest under the superlative degree. And now let's move on to our next rule. For multi-syllable adjectives or more, or adjectives ending in full or less, say for example, from the word afraid, under the comparative degree, we're going to add the word more or less to the positive degree. So from our example, afraid, we're going to say more afraid or less afraid under the comparative degree. And for the superlative degree, we're going to add the word most or least to the positive degree. Say, for example, from our previous word afraid, we're going to say most afraid or least afraid. So again, from the positive degree afraid, we have more afraid or less afraid under comparative degree. And for the superlative degree, we have most afraid or least afraid. Another example is the word silent. We can say under the comparative degree, more silent or less silent. And for the superlative degree, we can say most silent or least silent. Another example, we have the word colorful. We can say more colorful or less colorful under the comparative degree. And for the superlative degree, we can say most colorful or least colorful. So those are the rules under regular adjectives. However, some adjectives are irregularly compared. So let's move on to the rules, or are there any rules under these irregularly compared adjectives? So, as I've said a while ago, there are some adjectives that are irregularly compared. Say, for example, we have here the word good under the positive degree. It becomes better for the comparative degree and best for the superlative degree. Another one, we have the bad, worse, and worst. Another example, under the positive degree, we have the word ill. It becomes worse on the comparative degree and worst under the superlative degree. Another is the word many. It becomes more under comparative degree and most under the superlative degree. The next example of irregularly compared adjectives is the word much. It becomes more under the comparative degree and most under the superlative degree. Next example, we have the word little. It becomes less under the comparative degree and least under the superlative degree. And the last example of these adjectives under irregularly compared is the word less. It becomes lesser under the comparative degree and least under the superlative degree. Now let's answer this learning task. So let's read the direction together. Choose the correct form of adjective for each sentence. Write your answers in your notebook. So are you ready? Okay, let's read the first sentence. The milkshake is sweet. Sweeter or sweetest? What could be the correct answer? Okay, good. So the answer is sweet because there is only one thing or object that is being compared. So we are under the positive degree. How about number 2? Let's read it together. Tarsier remains the smaller, smallest primate in the Philippines. What could be the correct answer? Alright, awesome. So the correct answer is smallest because Tarsier is being compared to all the primates in the Philippines. So there we are under the superlative degree being compared to 3 or more objects. Alright. So how about number 3? Let's read. My uncle is the richest man in our town. What could be the correct answer? All right, awesome. So the correct answer is riches, because her or his uncle is being compared to all the man in their town. So we're talking about three or more people being compared. So we are going to choose the superlative degree of adjectives. Okay. How about number 4? So let's read. Today's weather is cloudy, cloudier, or was it cloudiest than yesterday? So what could be the correct answer? All right, cool. So the correct answer is cloudier, because there are two things that are being compared here. So the weather today and the weather yesterday. So there are two. That means we are going to fall under comparative degree. Okay. How about number 5? Let's read. The sound of the chirping birds is pleasant, more pleasant, or most pleasant than the sound of crickets. What could be the correct answer here? Alright, very good. So the correct answer is more pleasant, because we are comparing two sounds here. The first sound is the chirping birds, sound of the chirping birds, and the other is the sound of crickets. So there are two um, things that being compared. So we're going to fall under the comparative degree. Great. All right, so let's just take a note to the following reminder. So these are the things that we must remember. The first one is some one-syllable adjectives with a single vowel before the consonant form their comparative and superlative degree by doubling the last letter before adding er for the comparative and est for the superlative. Okay, so let's look at the given examples. We have the mad, so mother and maddest. So you can see the last letter is being doubled. So don't forget to look at their spelling, okay? So the next example is the big, bigger, and then biggest. Sad, sadder, and saddest. And for the last one, we have the word fat under the positive degree, fatter for the comparative degree, and fattest for the superlative degree. Okay, so another reminder, we have the word done. Okay, as you can see, the word done here is often used with comparative adjectives. Say, for example, my jacket is thicker than your jacket. So, after the comparative degree form of adjective, we add the word than. Okay. And lastly, for another thing to remember, so the word the before an adjective signifies superlative degree. So, say for example, she is the cutest among the three. So, those are the things to remember in giving the comparative and superlative degree of comparison. Yes, finally. So that's all. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you have learned something about adjective and its degrees of comparison. Again, this is Teacher JM, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more educational videos. Again, thank you, stay safe, and God bless everyone. See you next video. Bye!